Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Anderson. I'm an attorney at Schoeneck King in the Albany office. And today I'm going to be discussing a preliminary injunction that was issued by Judge Hurd of the Northern District of New York on October 12th that went up against the Department of Health's emergency regulation requiring vaccines for hospital workers. This preliminary injunction was issued in favor of the plaintiffs. So the plaintiffs were our group of anonymous doctors and nurses that sued the state, saying that the state's emergency regulation that exists for healthcare workers that requires them to be vaccinated against COVID-19 ran against their First Amendment religious freedom rights because the emergency regulation does not provide for a religious exemption from receiving the vaccine. The judge in this case agreed with the plaintiffs and issued the preliminary injunction. Now, what does that mean practically speaking? It means that now the Department of Health cannot enforce its portion of the regulation against hospitals. When hospitals grant a religious exemption from being fully vaccinated to one of its employees, the Department of Health cannot go after the hospital for granting that. Does the hospital actually have to grant that religious exemption? That's a great question, and one that you should talk to your attorney about, because that's not necessarily a bulletproof thing. And the other portion of the regulation that's important, the other portion of the preliminary injunction that's important to note, is that the Department of Health cannot take an adverse action against a professional, a medical professional in one of these settings, a hospital setting covered by the emergency regulation, for receiving a religious exemption. Again, does that mean that those employees are necessarily entitled to a religious exemption? You, employer, will have to run through the analysis of whether or not a religious exemption needs to be granted. To do that, may I recommend contacting one of the many labor and employment attorneys at Schoeneck King who would be happy to help you sort through these complicated problems. And with that, I'm sure I will see you all very soon. Have a wonderful day.